Yes, thank you for joining us this evening. This is a workers' compensation program, Injured Workers of PA. And first I'd like to address the fact that tomorrow is Election Day, and I can't stress how important it is that you vote. It's the most important right, and these decisions that you're making tomorrow, especially for Superior Court and Commonwealth Court, and it's believe me, it's a very important election because it does tie in with workers' comp cases and all other kind of cases as far as the maneuvering of changing of the laws and manipulating them. And over the years, they've really changed a lot of decisions, taking away rights of injured workers. So you need to get the proper people into those positions of authority. So please consider that first and foremost. Our program is aired live this evening. It's November 7th, 2011, and I'd like to welcome you, the viewing audience, and everybody out there. Our topic tonight is workers' compensation deceptions, and basically what that is the employer is very deceiving, and what they do with the claimant or the victim of a work-related injury. So we're going to be addressing that tonight. I'm your host, Dennis Straub, and joining me tonight is workers' comp attorney Jerry Lehocky of the law firm Pond, Lehocky, Stern, and Giordano. And I thank you very much, Jerry, for being here with me tonight.
Dennis, it's a pleasure. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
He's one of the more influential, I feel, attorneys, workers' comp attorneys in the state of Pennsylvania, and knowledgeable. He's been around for many, many years. Their firm I had many years ago with my case, and you need somebody that's going to be addressing issues and understanding the workers and the victims of the work-related injury. That's all they do. They represent the claimant of the injured worker themselves. So please, if you needed a good attorney, consider Jerry and Bond and their firm. But if you have any questions, yeah, you're welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to call in here tonight. Like I said, it is a live call-in show, and the number is 610-378-0426. And like I say, I want to also thank Berks Community Television for and its sponsors for giving me the opportunity to have this program tonight. They're a non-profit, and they need your help also and their support. So if anybody out there, please consider joining BCTV or contributing to them. They make a big difference within our community. So. And as far as this program goes, I'm looking for a new sponsor for this program. Injured Workers Pharmacy had dropped out some time ago. I was just talking to Jerry earlier, and they might be considering it. I hope they do.
We're going
to work on it. So, like I say, most of you realize, you know, what my organization is about, Injured Workers of PA. Is about helping and guide injured workers through a support group made up of all injured workers and people without the community, whether it be union, non-union. And I do have support by the Teamsters Local 429, which I'd like to thank for letting us hold our meetings there at their office without having to be reciprocated for the hall and whatnot. The unions make a big difference within our community, so support them also. So anyways, let me see, what else I got on here. If you didn't pay your dues for 2012 yet, you're a member of the organization. It's $12 a year will be a charge for being a member of our organization. You can call us any time. I'll try and guide you through the process. We do have a good panel of attorneys that we can refer you to, and hopefully, you know, make a difference, a positive difference within your lives. This show is repeated on Wednesday at 10 a.m., Friday at 3 p.m., and Sunday at 12 p.m. So if you want to watch it again, it's also cast on the web at bctv.org. You can watch it live there at those times, and also you can watch it in archive programs. Let's see what else I wanted to. Oh, yeah, it's Injured Workers of PA. Our meeting is supposed to be tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is election day, and I'm judge of elections, so that's not going to happen. So we've canceled the meeting for November. Our next meeting is going to be on December 13th, and we'll be gathering at the Jumbo China Buffet, basically our meeting / Christmas gathering. You're welcome to come in there if you want to. Like I say, it's going to be at the same time, 7 o'clock, second Tuesday of December. So anyways, please call and let us know if you be attending that meeting or at the Jumbo China Buffet. And if I can help you at all, please give me a call, 610-376-7942. So we do have a home viewer already, I see on the line, so we'll go straight to the home viewer. Yes, home viewer.
Yes.
Yes, can I have your first name?
Bob.
Oh, hello, Bob.
You have a question, Bob?
Yeah, if your employer changes the hours of your work due to a contract negotiations, does that affect your workman's compensation payment?
I'm not sure I can answer that without some more information. Are you an injured worker now?
Yes.
And are you receiving workers' compensation benefits?
Not now. They denied me my payment because they said it's the whole company's turned over to that one schedule, so they're denying my workman's compensation payment.
So you're out of work now?
No, I'm working, but they reduced my hours.
Oh, because everyone, it's a firm-wide reduction in hours?
Yeah.
Right. Under those circumstances, you would not be entitled to workers' compensation benefits unless you can show that the reduction in hours is because of your work injury. But if it's a firm-wide or a company-wide reduction in hours, and everyone is experiencing a reduction in hours, then you would not get the benefit of having a higher benefit rate because of more hours when the rest of your company is working reduced hours.
But not everybody's on that schedule.
Well, then it's not firm-wide.
Right, and therefore you'd be entitled to the two-thirds of
that's right.
difference.
Okay.
So you would certainly be entitled to receive what's called partial disability benefits because of the reduction in hours.
Okay.
And if you don't have an attorney helping you with that, you should call one right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you're curious about, or now, as far as tonight's topic, as far as deceptions, did you have you been deceived? That you feel in any way here? That besides the fact of they're basically deceiving you and wanting to lower your workers' comp rate because of the fact that they're saying it's.
They never said anything like that.
No?
I found out by accident.
Okay.
Well, you need to put someone on your side to help you, give you the right information, to fight back and get you what you're entitled to get.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. We have another.
Thank you.
All right. We have another home viewer. Yes, home viewer, you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question for you about partial compensation. We go back to work with light duty.
Yes.
I'd like to go back to work light duty, but my employer says that in case my, I guess what you should call waffle check on your overtime with your last of your quarter.
All right. Well, you're talking about your benefit rate?
Yeah.
All right. Your benefit rate is determined by the earnings you had for the 1 year prior to your work injury, and that would include any overtime you had.
Okay, so 1 year prior to my work injury, and it's the average to high, and whatever I'm making when I go back against the high is what they pay me?
The way it's calculated is that the earnings that you accumulated for the year prior to your work injury are divided into 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And then each of those quarters are averaged together. And you take the 3 highest quarters to determine what your pre-injury average weekly wage is.
Okay.
And then you compare that to what you're earning if you go back to work in a light-duty capacity.
Uh-huh.
And if that light-duty capacity pays you less than what you were making full-time with overtime, then the workers' compensation insurance carrier or the employer, if they're self-insured, would owe you 2/3 of that difference.
Okay, and it has nothing to do with what the guys in the shop are making when I go back, right?
That's correct.
Correct.
I get 2 stories today when I talked to them. I was just trying to get the straight one, and I saw you online tonight, so. All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any other questions, we're here to help.
Believe me, I got your number. I know where you are.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
You have a good one. Yeah, well, we've got a couple calls right off the bat. Hopefully we help them. But, yeah, the system itself is just unreal what does go on. And lately, I've ran into some other people that have called me lately that they've come back after one particular individual. It was almost 2 years since they figured out what he was entitled to as far as workers' comp, and he's been collecting all this time. Now they finally submitted a petition to modify and his benefits because they said he was overpaid for these past 2 years in the calculation of his wage earnings. And I said, 2 years? And I said, and he said, well, they know, but the bottom line to it is they know that he hasn't had any attorney, he hasn't needed one because they paid all along, but yet here they are, and they know that it's going to cost him and it's the difference in wage is, it's maybe $25 a week. So he's saying, well, the amount it's going to cost me to hire an attorney, the 20% ongoing, I'm going to lose big time, by appealing this. What do I do? And I said, maybe you want to address that a little bit.
I'd be happy to, Dennis. The gentleman, if it's a gentleman,
yes,
definitely needs to speak to an attorney.
Correct.
Because what the workers' compensation insurance carrier and their counsel will tell this gentleman is that, there was a big mistake, they overpaid, and now he has to repay that money, which in fact he doesn't have to do. If it was a mistake by the insurance company, they have to live with that mistake, and they have to eat that mistake, and that there's no credit against the ongoing benefits because of that overpayment. So he may be deceived right off the bat by the fact that they're filing a petition against this person and trying to tell him that, we made a mistake, you got more money than you were supposed to get, now we want to reduce your money going forward to make up for that mistake, and in reality, he doesn't have to give up that extra money.
Yeah, but no, you'd have to hire an attorney, which would cost him 20% of his ongoing checks. Correct?
Well, it depends.
Depends. I know a lot of attorneys like yourself and your firm and other ones that's been on my panel. We have an agreement where you do a certain amount of pro bono work.
That's correct.
So what I suggested to this individual was to, in fact, I asked him, told him, to contact the firms, and I said, try it yourself. I said, go in before when you get things, appeal it, contact the bureau. I gave him the information,
right,
what to do, which he did. And I said, when you go before a judge, just tell him, look, you don't feel this is right. This is the fact of it being this amount of time, for one, and a judge oversaw the fact of what it was calculated to begin with,
right,
at the beginning. I said, I found out, I'm trying to remember the name of there's a certain name, and it doesn't only apply to workers' comp, it applies to all legal cases where the amount of time goes by. And
statute of limitations.
You think, yeah, but it wasn't that. It was trying to think of the name. Oh, geez. But anyways, it was that they don't have the right to come back after this amount of time and appeal, to modify and ask for this money back, because it's, I think, way past the point of modification and calculations of the wage rate. But it was so this individual, like I say, it did go before a judge, and I told him exactly what was going to take place. That once you go before the judge, he's going to, first things out of his mouth, is going to ask you where your attorney's at.
That's true.
And not only for his benefit, for the benefit of the judge, he needs an attorney. And I said, well, they ask the judge if he would assign somebody that would do it pro bono within the system or knows somebody. And that thinks where it's standing at, and the case hasn't gone further. But it's literally, I can't see how they can get away with it. But
well, let me follow up with that. If the facts existed at the time the insurance company prepared its documents, right, and they made this determination that this person was entitled to get X amount of dollars, and 2 years later somebody looks at it and says, we made a mistake, based on the same facts that existed at the time those documents were prepared, they're stuck with those numbers.
Right.
They don't get a reduction. Unless they can prove that there was some mistake of fact or mistake of law or some type of deception or fraud on the part of the employee,
Right.
they're stuck with those numbers. So you definitely need someone who's knowledgeable in this area of law to be able to explain it to that person and to the judge.
Right. And when he told me what the circumstances were, I said, well, I still can't see how they can do it because this particular individual made more than the maximum it was maximum rate for workers' comp rate to begin with. And they're calculating the reduction according to him. What he told me was he had 2 weeks, I think, off because of an illness in the family that he took off. And I was in that year. And I'm saying 2 weeks out of a year, and they're saying that, and he worked overtime and stuff in between, that they're saying now, because of those 2 weeks, it's going to make that much difference. I said, I can't see that's happening.
It's not going to make that much of a difference.
I can't see that's happening. But it's a matter of the harassment that goes on within the system itself. And what they try and do to individuals once you get caught up in this.
It's a form of legal harassment.
Yeah.
Anytime an insurance company files a petition against an injured worker, in one way or another, it could be viewed as legal harassment.
Right.
No doubt about it. And again, you want to be able to fight on a level playing field.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only way you're going to do that is by hiring someone who's knowledgeable in this area to fight back.
I totally agree. I totally agree, Jerry. And that's why we're here. We're trying to educate you, the public, and the viewing audience out there. Not only you, but your family members. You ever get caught up in this system, it's totally unjust. And I wanted to bring up, there's a lot of points I wanted to bring up. The other night, I was watching, and probably a lot of viewers out there, and Channel 3 brought up, and hear about people that are on, they put this on advertising for days ahead of time, that be careful what you put online and on Facebook or any of those other things and what you post. And then they showed 3 people that supposedly fraudulent within their workers' comp claims that this guy had videotape of them. But the reality of it is they didn't bring the facts up that 99% of the fraud is done by the employer themselves, and only 1% is by employees that end up doing these type of things that are collecting where they shouldn't be. And the general public is being misled by these information and these news media that put this stuff on there. And I wish they'd give a balanced report. It ticks me off, to say the least.
Well,
Jerry.
You're not going to get a balanced report because, as you correctly point out, the majority of fraud that it takes place in the workers' compensation arena is conducted by employers and insurance companies. You have employers who don't carry the required workers' compensation insurance. That's fraud. You have carriers who tell injured workers the wrong information. They lie about what the Act requires, about where they have to go for treatment, how long they have to treat, the amount of money that they're entitled to get. I mean, we can go on and on and on about the types of the misinformation and the fraud that's spewed by the carriers to injured workers.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up some more. Like they're supposed to have it posted in their workplace, and if you go into, I'd say most of the workplaces out there, you won't see anything posted as far as workers' comp regulations, a list of panel physicians that's required, and as far as they just don't disclose a lot of these things, and they go on and like myself, when I first got injured, as they didn't even want to give, as far as filling out the accident report, they didn't even want to give you copies of them. And then, I mean, that in itself, and then you find out over the years, there's a lot of people that do fill out the employer or the supervisor will fill out the accident report and put stuff that's not correct or proper on the accident report.
Dennis, let me stop you because this is really important. The biggest fraud that's perpetrated by the insurance industry on injured workers in the state of Pennsylvania right now is that if you get hurt, you have to treat with the company doctor for 90 days. That is the biggest fraud that's being communicated to injured workers. The only way you have to treat with a company doctor if you're an injured worker is if 3 things happen. Number 1, there has to be a panel of physicians posted where you work, and you have to know where that panel list is located. Number 2, you have had to sign what's called an acknowledgement of rights letter when you were hired, and you have to sign a second acknowledgement of rights letter after your injury. If those three things don't exist, you are not required under law to treat with a company doctor. But what happens? The moment you get hurt, your supervisor, your boss, the insurance adjuster calls you and says, oh, by the way, you have to go to work health or you have to go to business health, and that's just not true.
Exactly. I mean, I can't stress that enough. How many people out there end up, I see we've got another home viewer. We'll go out to the home viewer. Go ahead. Hello, home viewer, you there? Can we have your first name?
Scott.
Hi, Scott. What can we do
What
for
can
you?
we do for you, Scott?
I'd like to know, would you be able to reopen a claim, or do you have a time frame that you can reopen a claim?
Well, how was the claim closed?
It's usually 3 years from the last point of treatment or payment for medical or a reimbursement wage
Correct.
loss. But I mean, if
But it
you
depends on how it was closed. Was it a
Right.
judge's decision? What happened?
The CNR, I think.
You had a CNR. You had a settlement,
Yes.
a full settlement of your case.
Yes.
And you testified in front of a judge that you
Yeah.
understood the terms of the settlement?
Yes.
Was it a full settlement?
Yes, but you still have medical issues with it.
Okay, so your medical claim was left open?
No, my medical claim was left open for a little bit, but I still have problems.
All right, was that time period now expired?
Yes.
Well, then your case is over, unfortunately. You can't reopen that.
Now, if you're still I don't know if you're still working or not or employed, but believe it or not, you can reopen if your injury is aggravated. Even any injury is aggravated on the new job or the
Right.
place of employment you're at now. It's considered a workers' comp claim and a new one.
Scott, that's the risk you take when you settle a workers' compensation case.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
All
welcome.
right, Scott. There's a lot of people that I've found out over the years too that come back to me years later, and they say, "Oh, I ran out of money. I took this," and you don't get very much money from a workers' comp claim on a settlement. I mean, it's not enough to live off the rest of your life. I mean, like a lot of people out there, even if you get the maximum rate, and you end up getting, like I say, the average settlement in a workers' comp is around $54,000 per year, from what my understandings are from the Bureau. But an individual that has a catastrophic that can never work again, you're lucky you get $200,000. And on like the Law Journal show we were on and stuff, the judges told me right there, and they don't see much around that. It's usually around $125,000. I mean, there is some. I know you've managed to get. Your firm has done very well.
In fact, my partner Sam Pond this past week settled a case. It was probably the largest in Pennsylvania history.
Really?
A workers' compensation settlement of $3 million.
Wow, you don't hear that. That must have been really extenuating circumstances.
There was a very complicated case.
But I'm glad to hear at least they paid a person something they could live off for the rest of their life, maybe. But depending on the circumstances, that's probably not true either.
What everyone has to understand is that, as you know, workers' compensation does not pay for pain and suffering.
Right.
So that if you had the same type of injuries in a personal injury type of lawsuit, a motor vehicle case, a medical malpractice case, a slip and fall, when you take pain and suffering into consideration, those settlements by number are much, much higher for the same injuries that we see in workers' compensation. Workers' compensation pays only for your wage loss and your medical benefits. That's it. So if we were taking into consideration pain and suffering, the settlements would be much, much higher.
I totally agree. Now, on the fact of it is that when you do end up with litigation and they drag it out, that's one of their other tactics that the employers use. It's a starve-out tactic. And I know they use it very well. And in fact, we were discussing before the show on that you had numerous people that committed suicide because of instances where they didn't know what to do anymore. I mean, they were, literally, you become injured, you work making a good wage, you have benefits, which they don't consider under workers' comp, and then they deny it and deny, even though they know you have a legitimate claim, and it takes period of possibly a year or longer, sometimes 2-3 years on your particulars to get any recourse within your workers' comp claim. And this is called the starve-out tactic, where they put pressure on people. That's just another tactic that the insurance companies tend to use. Now, do you want to comment on that?
Let me comment on that, because this is probably one of the hardest things I have to explain to a new client when they come into the office after they've had a legitimate work injury which was denied by the workers' compensation insurance company. And when I explain to them that the process may take up to a year to litigate, they're speechless. And they can't understand why or how a legitimate work injury now will take a year to be resolved. That's the system. As you say, it's a starve-out tactic. So the best thing you can do is to get somebody with some knowledge who can navigate that system as quickly as possible and get you to the finish line. Because otherwise you will starve, you will lose your house, you will lose your car, and you will go into depression.
Right. I mean, the worst part, I think, with a lot of the individuals I've talked with is that their families, their wives and children, and even their mother and father, they don't understand what the individual is going through and the process. I mean,
everybody suffers.
They see it. They say, right. It really suffers, the whole family. And we'll get to a little bit ongoing with that in a bit. I see we have another home viewer. Yes, home viewer, you're there?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring something up. We had a guy that went off on disability pension because he became disabled on the job. He moved to Florida, and the insurance company or someone sent investigators down to Florida, and the guy was, they had said they had pictures and everything of him putting a roof on. So they brought him back to Reading and to take him off of disability, and had a hearing. And here was the guy next door who put the roof on. They had the wrong guy.
Well, that's not unheard of.
That happens every now and then. They get the wrong guy.
But
It was great.
but they probably put it on the news, you know.
Right.
Look, hey, look at
Make
this
you
guy
believe.
doing a roof, right? Yeah, make you believe. I mean, there's a lot of instances, and it makes, I don't know why it makes front page and picked up by these major news channels where a person, like, you go on vacation, like, you're not entitled to a life because you got injured on the job. I mean, God, you're a victim of a worker that you didn't do nothing on your own.
Well, this guy got another settlement off of him before that.
Good for him.
Yep.
Dennis, I tell every client.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I tell every client that you're going to be followed. You're going to be watched from day one. They're out there.
Right. We have another home viewer. Yes, home viewer, you there? Hello, home viewer? Can we?
Are you there?
Did we lose him? Okay. Well, if you're.
Say hello again.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you there?
Yes.
Yes, first I want to say that I admire you guys for doing what you got to do for the injured workers of Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
But Sunday night on 60 Minutes, they had a lobbyist stating that he paid congressmen and senators to sit on committees to vote the way they wanted to big business. And I think it's like in Harrisburg. You got a strong case, a real strong case. You go through all the rip holes and everything like that, and when it gets to Albany, it gets shut down. And I think that the people that are sitting on the committees in Harrisburg are getting paid by big business. And it's with all these protests now and everything like that, all these people are saying yes.
Well,
What do you have to say to that?
They're starting to wake up. I think people are starting to wake up. They've taken so much and they've been knocked down so many times, and they're finally starting to get together. And it's not just about one move. The movement seems to be multifaceted. But yeah, you're right. It's about the workers' compensation system and our economy. Everything about it. It's all about money, and the employers, they'll do anything and
It's like you stated. A lot of these people, there's people committing suicide because they don't get checks just to live on.
Right.
They ain't asking for $1 million or $1 trillion. Just give me something that I could live on and pay my rent.
Right.
Well, let me.
Go ahead.
Can I respond to
Sure.
this caller? And thank you for the call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dennis, you mentioned at the start of this your show that the most important thing you can do is vote.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow is a very important day in Pennsylvania. The judicial elections will take place for the Pennsylvania Superior Court and the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court. In workers' compensation, when you appeal a decision of a judge, the next level is the Workers' Compensation Appeal Board, and above that is the Commonwealth Court. So the Commonwealth Court is in line to review all workers' compensation appeals that get to that level. So it's very important that you, as a citizen of this Commonwealth, as an injured worker, know who's running, know where they stand on issues, because for workers' compensation, injured workers, it's extremely important. Also, the legislature in Harrisburg, this gentleman talked about people on committees. Yes, they sit on committees that decide the laws, the workers' compensation laws that we have to interpret every day. So you need to know who's running, what state representative is running in your district, what state senator is running, where the governor stands on workers' compensation issues. You need to know all of this, you need to educate yourself, and you need to vote for people who are on your side of those issues.
Right. You need to be pro-people, is what I say. I mean, maybe a lot of people say my show is basically biased, and I guess it is, but I think you should use common sense for the people, and this country is supposed to be about the people, and hopefully the message will be sent out there, and more people will be getting together and uniting and making a difference within our community. Yes, we have another home viewer. Home viewer, are you there?
Hello?
Hello? Home viewer?
Hi.
Yes,
Good
first
evening.
name?
Good evening. Yes, my name is Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Hello,
Yes,
Sue.
I've been fighting workman's comp for 4.5 years. And I think workman's comp is BS. I got hurt on the job. I was a county employee. And, you know, I'm going to make a settlement. But like you said, I went into severe depression because I had no income coming in. I had to admit myself into the hospital because I had a breakdown. And I don't see that workman's comp is for the workers. I think it's for the companies. Because for the workers, it's horrible. I mean, like, I have to settle for peanuts because I'm fighting accounting. And I just think it's horrible.
Well, Sue, if I may, and I don't know the circumstances of your fight over these past 4.5 years, but you don't have to settle for anything that you don't believe is reasonable for your case. If you've gone into a state of depression, if you've had treatment for depression over the pain that you've experienced, over the injuries, over the change of your lifestyle, then that should be part of your recognized work injury. And if you have an attorney, that person should be fighting to have that recognized. And don't ever settle for something that you're not comfortable with.
And literally, you don't have to. In fact, the insurance company employer doesn't have to. They can come back at the last minute and say, no, we're not going with it either. So you've got to realize that you have rights, even though they are dwindled down a lot.
I do understand that I have rights, but the thing is, workman's comp has denied every single thing. It was kind of like I was blackballed.
Well,
That's why you
I
fight.
mean, it was, but 4.5 years. I mean, a human being can only take so much. I just don't understand.
It goes a lot longer than that.
Workman's comp has to be like this. I thought it was for the injured employee.
Yeah. Did you want to hang on, Sue, or we got to take a break at this point? But do you want to hang on?
Yeah, happy to talk to you some more.
Sure.
Okay, hang on then. We're going to a break right now. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We'll be right back.
You're watching Injured Workers of PA on bctv.org. Be informed. Be involved. Be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on health and related issues, go to bctv.org.
Okay, we're up. Are you back there, Sue?
Yes, sir, I am.
Sue, you
So
still
you
there?
still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The system itself is totally unjust. My particular case lasted 10 years till I finally settled it. I ended up being like 60, I went to court, I think, at least 60 times. It was a lot over those years. Every time I turned around, they were filing some kind of action, and they just were about harassing and trying to do everything, and people just can't take it. You got to be a fighter and have a strong will that's just hang in there, and they know that. It's not about my particular case. I was injured back before Act 57, which now limits your amount of time that you can collect, which I feel is really, another nitpicking, not nitpicking, but it's just a big cut at the victims of the workplace injury, and it should never took place.
Sue, have you been out of work for 4 years?
No, I got injured, but I was on light duty
Okay.
All right.
for the 3 years, I guess the 4 years. They terminated me in December.
While you were on light duty?
Yes.
And did you have your work comp benefits reinstated to total status?
No.
Should have
You
been.
should have.
I know I should have. I've been fighting for that. I'm supposed to go to court again, but they said they brought people in saying, the people they brought in lied. So I got they brought 2 people to testify, and then they lied and said, I did this and I did that. They're saying
They're wanting to terminate your fight.
If
the judge I had has been fabulous. I beat them 5 times.
Well, then keep fighting.
I just,
Keep fighting.
Yeah, if you have a good attorney, they're supposed to do the work for you.
Right.
too.
I know, but this guy's kind of saying because I'm fighting the county and,
Sue, it doesn't matter if you're fighting the county or IBM.
Yeah.
It's the same. And you shouldn't be intimidated by the fact that you're fighting the county.
I'm not intimidated. But
You sound distraught with the whole
Yeah.
situation and tired.
I
Fed up.
think it's BS, because my injury was on video, so I don't know.
It's not like it wasn't blatant,
Don't-
like you have evidence and they couldn't get out of it, but they will turn around and do whatever they can to not pay you.
Right.
So be aware of that.
You keep fighting,
You
Sue.
keep fighting. We do have another home viewer. Is there anything else you want to bring up, Sue, before we go to the
No,
next?
I just thank you, and I just thought
Well, we're a support group. Hopefully, you can come to our meetings or join us. Give me a call. Like I say, just keep fighting. You're not alone
Yeah.
in this. There's a multitude of people out there that are caught up in the same unjust system.
it's horrible. Yeah, I can understand how people get suicidal, and I had suicidal thoughts. I wouldn't do that to my family, my mom.
Well, you need to, you
You
started
need
in
to
that.
talk to somebody, Sue.
You need to
Oh,
talk.
I do. I
Well, you're-
went to the
yeah.
hospital, but I can see how they beat people up to get to that point.
Well, you got to fight back. That's what I do.
Yeah,
I fight back.
Another thing is you need to tell your doctor, make sure they realize that you're having these thoughts, and they can literally make the workers' comp carrier pay for your psychiatric care and get it on record, and that means a big difference when it comes down the road as far as settlement even.
Right.
So
Or just more important, getting the treatment.
Getting the treatment you need, yes. And then not to have that thought in your head and go on with that.
Well, I don't have it no more.
Well, just...
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
All righty.
But keep fighting.
Keep fighting, Sue.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. Next home viewer, you there? Yes, home viewer.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, can I
I
first?
wanted to get back to the attorney that's there had mentioned that they will be following you, they'll be watching you. And you see these photographs, I don't know, the guy's drinking beer at the beach and it's a big deal because it's on Facebook. Well, you're not going to post pictures of yourself suffering on Facebook. Do the judges realize this?
Yeah.
This is one snapshot in time that maybe you had a good moment?
The answer is yes. Judges are people too, believe it or not. And they are sympathetic, for the most part, to what goes on. They listen to thousands and thousands of cases a year. So the fact that a photograph is taken of someone with a can of beer sitting at the beach, does that mean you could work? No. No, that doesn't mean you can work. Does it mean you're in pain? Well, I don't know. But the answer is that it's just a snapshot of one small second or a small point in time of your life. And you can fight back. You can show the judge pictures of yourself not at the beach, when you're at the doctor's office, or anything along those lines, things that you can't do anymore. But I would not get concerned about one picture of someone sitting down with a can of beer.
Yeah, don't let that intimidate you. If you go to my website, injuredworkersofpa.org, I have a thing on there as far as surveillance that has to do with it, what you should and shouldn't do. But basically, the bottom line is I had one of the detectives of one of the larger firms here in Pennsylvania on my show in the past, and they basically said they will work for the claimant side too.
Right.
And they said basically, when it comes down to the evidentiary factor of this, they would have to show an on-running thing of 8 hours of you doing something that's above your restrictions, and they just take these clips and show, and you could prove, they'd have to prove that it was unedited and they didn't cut and paste stuff together. So, I mean, literally, you really don't have to worry about that in the surveillance. Just don't, I mean, anybody that's a legitimate injury isn't going to be out there doing things above the restrictions anyway.
Right.
And if you do have to do something that you feel maybe above it, you're not going to be doing it for a period of time. And you know that once you do that, because you had to do it, whether change a tire or something, and you're going to pay for it that night or the next day, you're probably laying in bed in terrible pain. So
Being on workers' compensation is not a prison sentence.
Right.
You're not required to sit in your home and give up your life just because the fact you got hurt on the job. Everybody recognizes that you have a life and that you have places to go, and you have to go buy food, and you have to go to the store and buy clothing or take your kids to school or do things like that. So you are required to live your life. It's okay.
Yeah, be aware of that. But thank you for calling in, and we have another
caller.
viewer. Yeah, another caller. So if there's anything else, please give us another call or come to our meetings. And thank you for calling tonight. Like I say, is the next home viewer there?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. I was calling. I got injured a year ago, and I am collecting workers' compensation, and I have life insurance through my work. Now, I was wondering, when I settle my case, will I have to search for life insurance through another company, or how exactly is that going to work?
Well,
it varies with, believe it or not, I don't know if you're union or not, but I ran into some of this stuff in the past with other claimants, in fact myself, and you probably will have to look for another insurance, and whether it's dependent on the company and what the contract says. Some of the companies, like the one I had at the time with my union, didn't take care of individuals. So literally, you were lost out. It was a group policy. So and they didn't allow you basically. I mean, some companies will let you pay on that, even though you're no longer there. And other ones, when they do the compromise, when you do your termination of your benefits, if you make a settlement, will have it on that you're no longer an employee and you're totally out of the system. Therefore, you wouldn't be allowed to.
Right.
So it varies greatly with that.
I would recommend that you contact the carrier who's underwriting the life insurance policy.
Okay.
Contact them directly, let them know what's going on, and find out if you can pay that premium on your own after the settlement, so that you don't have to go through the reapplication process and get another exam, another blood test, that type of thing. I mean, I'm sure all they care about is getting the premium anyway.
Right.
So if you can afford it on your own and you want to continue that policy, then you should contact them and try to continue it.
Okay. Right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
It varies greatly with a lot of that. In fact, there's pre-existing conditions. Now, they passed a law where they couldn't deny on that, but I fell into that before they had the law, and they literally they don't have to. They didn't have to at that time insure you with a pre-existing, and now they claim that there's a lot of insurance companies that are required to pick it up. Whether or not the premiums, I don't know how they'd affect. They'd probably charge you so much that it's not beneficial to even get it. But
one of the things that happens almost in every workers' compensation case with an employer who has health insurance for its employees is that within a certain amount of time after the injury takes place, that benefit is cut off by the employer. And depending upon the size of the company, the employee then has to pay that premium under the COBRA regulations.
Right.
And for most people, they can't afford that if they're not working.
Right.
So, as you say, this starve out or this harassment, it has many levels. Number one, no benefits coming in terms of workers' compensation benefits. Number two, having to pay for benefits that were otherwise provided by your employer. Now you have no money coming in and you owe money. So you can see why people get depressed, why they get intimidated, why they're reluctant to fight back. But you can fight back and you can get your benefits that you're entitled to get.
Yeah, I mean, like what you're hearing tonight, a lot of employees themselves don't want to have to go through this kind of hassle. And I really can't blame the point, but you got to look at the long picture. If you're going to have this injury and it's going to re-aggravate and in the future, and you turn around and don't put a claim in for the workers' comp, you could end up really screwing yourself over in the future with far as being medical treatment and benefits. So,
No question about it.
I mean, you need to follow through on this. It's not just at this particular time and you're worried about that harassment. I mean, that's what the insurance companies do it for. They're doing this, your employers, to make it that you employees don't even want to put a claim in for workers' comp. It's another one of the biggest fraudulent things out there. And the liability factor. They want to transfer the liability. They'll tell you to collect on your health and welfare. I mean, my employer did that to me. And I said, what do you have the insurance for? Well, it's going to raise my rates and reflect on my bidding process. And I said, you know what? This is ridiculous.
It's all part of the culture that's been going on since the Workers' Compensation Act was passed in 1915. And that is the culture of making someone who's legitimately hurt on the job feel bad about it. and feel that the fact that they got hurt is something wrong, it was their fault, when in actuality it wasn't. And they're afraid to fight for their rights. So it's a pervasive culture that we battle every day. And you know, we have medical departments in our own law firm that get people to doctors who will treat someone who's been injured on the job when the insurance company's telling them, oh, you can't get treatment by that doctor. You can't go to your own doctor. Well, yes, you can go to your own doctor, and we're going to get you to a doctor, and we're going to get you the tests that you need and the treatment you need so that you can feel good about fighting back and get better.
I can't stress how important it is you get proper diagnosis from a physician of your choice to properly diagnose you, because a lot of the employers and doctors, they're paid good money, big money, to basically not document what is really wrong with you, and then down the road it makes it really rough for attorneys and for you as a claimant to get it recognized. I mean, I can't stress that enough, how this system, what it does to individuals. And so you need to be aware before you get injured what you need to do, what steps you need to follow. I mean, there's a lot of instances, I can't stress enough there's how many different scenarios of fraud on the employer side and harassment and deception. They use their own employees, your buddies. They might have been where you thought they were your buddies that you work with, and because you got injured, they turn around and tell them to harass you to get you off the workers' comp roll.
Well,
I mean,
they set up these bonus programs for the supervisors that basically are such that if your unit doesn't file a workers' compensation claim in a given year, the supervisor gets a bonus. And then they may divide that bonus among the people in that unit. So it's all designed to suppress pursuing a legitimate workers' compensation claim. I mean, we've had people come into our office who've had fingers cut off and were afraid to file a work comp claim because their boss wasn't going to get a bonus that year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that bad.
It is. We have another home viewer, a couple home viewers,
Okay,
so we'll
great.
get to them. We only got about 8 minutes left, so go ahead. Home viewer, you there?
Yes,
Yes, first name or?
Bill.
Hi, Bill. What can
Hello,
we do
Bill.
for you?
I've been on compensation for over 20 years.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It never ends. I mean, they want you to kill yourself, literally.
Oh, yeah.
Don't give them that satisfaction.
Over 20-some years, and it still never ends. And you have to think of this when you get hurt. I mean, you got to get a lawyer that should be young, because it could last over 20-some years. The whole system, I swear, I'm fighting a multi-billion-dollar company, and I'm not even getting paid in the beginning. And what else goes through your head but how am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to feed my family?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just the feeding, put the roof over their heads. It's tremendous. You lay awake at night, with these things, horrible thoughts going through your mind.
Just going through your head
Oh my God!
constantly.
Yeah, I mean, literally, nobody should be subjected to that. You're treated worse than a criminal. You really are.
Yes, you are.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that
when
you've been on
you're
it for 20
pills,
years.
because you're on pain, they want to call you a drug addict. And the doctors all say, give him the medicine. It just never ends. You got to realize this when you're hurt. Get a lawyer and be prepared to change your whole life, because it will change.
Well, you're absolutely right.
Thank you, Bill. Is there anything else? We do have another home viewer yet.
No, go ahead.
All right, Bill.
Thank
You
you,
take
Bill.
care. Thanks for calling in. Yes, home viewer, you there?
Hi.
Yeah, can I have
Hello.
first name?
For me?
Can I have your first name and address you properly? Give me a phony name if you want.
I'm Benita.
All right, Bernita. Yes,
What can we do for you?
I just want to say thank you for everything you did for me last year.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. Hopefully.
I did not spend it all in a casino.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
Yes. And I'll follow up with a message tomorrow, too.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome very much. You take care of yourself. Hang in there. You're not alone in this
Right.
fight.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome. Thank you.
Like I say, many people don't realize we have probably about 5 minutes left. If anybody out there else wants to call in, please call in. Like I say, there's the harassment says 5 minutes. We have harassment continually going on. They use IMEs, independent medical exams, IREs, rating evaluations, utilization reviews, vocational counseling. Basically, they use that as a weapon against you, even with the job thing. It's like they're trying to find you a job, which they really aren't. And they go on denying of your unemployment. Well, they'll try and starve you out every way they can. I mean, if they deny your workers' comp, then they'll even go on to the fact of denying unemployment and make you go through that. Then you have their Social Security tie-ins, your pension, your annuities. There's so much that people don't realize that ties in with your workers' comp, and you need a good attorney like Jerry here.
Thank you, Dennis. You make a good point. I want to follow up because it's very, very important. If you suffer a pretty bad work injury that causes you to be out of work for 12 months, or if it's that bad and your doctors are telling you, look, you're not going to be back to work within 12 months, you should contact an attorney that not only knows workers' compensation, but someone that can also pursue a Social Security disability claim for you, because you can collect both of those forms of benefit. And you're going to need that money, particularly if you're seriously injured. And to get every form of benefit you can possibly get is worth your while, because otherwise, if you don't go after them, you lose them.
Exactly.
And it's very important to go after every form of benefit you can get. Absolutely.
Exactly. Like I said, we only have so much time left. I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote up when I laid awake at night, and I've read this before, but it seems to ring true with all the viewers, the injured workers out there. And I titled it, "It's Not a Game." Basically, I was told by some attorneys in the past that it's a game, between the employers and the claimants, and it's a big game, chess game, or whatever you want to call it. And I said, how can it be a game when people's life are affected and people commit suicide over this? So it's entitled, "It's Not a Game." It's not a game when they deny your claim. It's not a game when we suffer physical, financial, and emotional pain. It's not a game when we can't pay our bills and are in financial strain. It's not a game when we lie awake wondering in vain. It's not a game when we feel we have nothing to gain. It's not a game when we are made to feel we should not remain. Stop the pain. It's not a game. It's not a game when we feel physically and mentally probed. It's not a game when our medical history is exposed. It's not a game when we are subjected to medical examination by doctors of the insurance company's choosing. It's not a game when we are harassed, followed, and videotaped. It's not not a game when we were denied human dignity, morality, and justice. It's not a game when we feel we have no rights. It's not a game when we feel we have no privacy. It's not a game when we feel we have no life. Mourn for the dead and fight for the living. It's not a game. Thank you.
Well said.
Now, I know a lot of you can feel for that. It just, like I say, it's terrible what you do go through, and you need to wake up and vote tomorrow. You need a good attorney on your side right from the get-go. You need information. That's what our group is about, Injured Workers of PA, helping you that are going through this. You're not alone. Realize you can fight back. When I first joined this group back in '95, there was an individual that committed suicide in the Reading area, made front page. They didn't tell you why. I found out later by one of our members. The individual was on workers' comp. They denied his claim. He ended up committing suicide in his garage with the exhaust of his car, and inadvertently killed his wife and teenage daughter upstairs. And that just sticks with me, and I keep doing it because of that. But literally, you need to be aware what goes on. Now, we only have a minute here. I've got to close up. So this show is repeated Wednesday at 10 a.m., Friday at 3 p.m., Sunday at 12 p.m., and on the web at bctv.org. We hold our meetings at Teamsters Local 429 building, second Tuesdays of every month. Next meeting is going to be in January because of the Mars election day, and then December is the holidays. And our next program is aired on January. So please, like I say, at the beginning of January, please tune in at that particular time. And thank you, Jerry, for
Dennis, thank you.
being on my show tonight.
It's not a game.
It's
You're
not
right.
a game.
It's our lives.
It's our lives. So thank you, the viewing audience. And at this point in time, we'll say good night.
Good night.